And to start things off, I now have the distinct honor of introducing the busiest man in motorsports, maybe not only in North America, but maybe in the world. But let's just say Steve works hard, and he's a great friend. Serving as a commissioner or president of any professional sports league comes with enormous responsibility and commitment. Joining NASCAR nearly 2 decades ago, Steve's leadership has resulted in bold moves that stand out in all of sports and entertainment. He's positioned the league and its many stakeholders to move strongly into the future. Coming off a huge win of his own and his team leading a $7.7 billion media rights deal, the NASCAR ship is definitely sailing in the right direction. A big supporter of our efforts in St. Louis and the St. Louis region, he no doubt understands where we're going, how community plays a role in everything we do, and the loyalty of our marketplace. I appreciate his unwavering support and friendship. Please welcome my friend, NASCAR President, Steve Phelps.
Thank you, my friend. Well, that was really not a very graceful start with me losing my microphone battery. I'll put this back where it's supposed to be. Let me start by thanking you for all of you for being here, taking time out of your busy days to hear a little bit more about NASCAR, where we've been and where we're going. And a massive shout out to Curtis Francois, who is a dear friend of mine, and his whole team at WWTR. And then Dave Stewart and Dave Stewart Jr., who have also become very dear friends of NASCAR and of me personally. What they do for this community and what they've done in NASCAR historically is very important to us. And I'll talk a little bit about the changes in NASCAR, and I'm going to use the word brand a lot, not sport, brand. And as you think about the brand of NASCAR and the changes that have happened with respect to diversity, equity, inclusion, and Brandon Thompson, my colleague, is going to get up and talk a little bit about that later. We're a fundamentally different sport than we were in 2019. And so, again, and the Stewarts had been there. They supported Bubba Wallace. They've supported Raja Karouf. They've supported other initiatives that we have in the important areas of diversity, equity, inclusion. So let me go back to 2018. And I think about where NASCAR was in 2018. We were, like most motorsports in this country, F1, NASCAR, IndyCar, NHRA, other sports, we were in trouble. We were seeing significant ratings declines. We were seeing attendance declines. There are reasons for that. Some of them were self-inflicted. Others were the retirement of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Danica Patrick, and others. Certainly not helpful when you lose major stars in your sport. Regardless of what sport it is, you're going to see some headwinds. And we were experiencing significant headwinds. In fact, our headwinds were, a decade of declining ratings, just slow, steady declines, not massive declines, and then ratings, attendance declines as well. So we needed to make some changes, right? We needed to put a plan together that was going to allow us over the next 5 years to experience growth. Curtis had mentioned the media rights deal that we closed at the end of last year, 7-year deal, nearly $7.7 billion. And essentially what that does, it helps feed the community, right? The NASCAR community. All the stakeholders participate in what that is. It's not going to, my two owners and then they just pocket the money. That's not how this works. It's spread throughout the industry. It's important to be able to do that. So putting a plan together was going to be important. And that was a seminal moment, getting that deal done. The deal itself, it's not just the money. It is about the partners that are going to participate with us starting in 2025. More about that in a second. If you go back to 2019, an important time in the sport of NASCAR where NASCAR, which is a private company owned by the France family, and the public company, which was our sister company called International Speedway Corporation, which owned 12 racetracks, we brought the public company private. And it's not very unheralded, significant debt that was brought on that the France family was willing to do, because they knew by bringing these two companies together that it would be a springboard to success. And that's exactly what has happened. Now, as the calendar switched to January 1st of 2020, and a lot of hand-wringing by me and our senior team about how are we going to bring these two wildly different companies together, and the difficulty around doing that and merging these two entities. Well, then mid-March happened, and we had a little pandemic, and we shut down. So for the first time in our, would have been 72-year history then, NASCAR had no plans to go racing, nothing. We were shut down just like every other major sport. On that Monday, after the Friday when we shut down, my senior team of just a handful of us got together in Daytona Beach, Florida, and we crafted a plan to be the first major sport back to competing, which is what we did. On May 17th in Darlington, South Carolina, we were the first sport, major sport in this country, to compete again. And we did that without fans, which was bizarre. Strange, strange, strange. And the only thing that made it not strange is when they fired the engines. Like, oh, and there it is. And I'm not going to lie to you. When they fired the engine and when they did, we played the national anthem, it was emotional. Because my team and I and an entire industry came together to create something special. And that's what the NASCAR industry does. When things are really hard, they come together and they solve for it. When things are really good, they take a pistol and they shoot their foot. I don't know why, but it just seems to happen that way. All right, so you had a little pandemic thing. So first major sport back, then first major sport to compete in front of fans again. And that was a big deal, which we did 4 weeks later. In between those two things, we had something to me that next to the inception of this sport in 1947 was the single most important event in NASCAR history. And that happened at the end of May, and the events that followed in June, because it literally changed the face of who NASCAR is today and where NASCAR is going in the future. NASCAR took a stance on social justice after the death of George Floyd, which surprised a lot of people. And they're like, what are those fools doing? That's not that's not their core fan base. Why are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense to me. 10 days later, we banned the Confederate flag, the display of that flag at all of our events. Eradicated, doesn't exist anymore. And people are like, oh my God, they're doubling down on this stupidity. It was really, people say it was a courageous move and it was, heartfelt. Here's the deal. Did it make me sleep better at night? It did. It was a business decision that my team and I made. A business decision because we knew that if we were going to take this step, that we could go to this place where I was a chief marketing officer for 12 years at NASCAR, 11. Every year, calendar switched, we need to get younger and more diverse. Said it every single, that's an objective, get younger and more diverse, get younger and more diverse. You needed something different to happen. And that difference was what we did in June of 2020. It was different. It was unexpected. And people said, if NASCAR can do this, can't any brand do this? Which, honestly, I've said this before, I don't really know how that makes me feel. But we did it. And importantly, they weren't words, they were actions. And so what Brandon does in our diversity, equity, inclusion space is real, it's legitimate, and the programs are working. 22% of the NASCAR fan base is Hispanic. I can assure you in 2020 that wasn't the case. We have one driver who's Hispanic at our top level, our Cup Series. His name is Daniel Suarez. Won the Atlanta race this year, won the Sonoma race in 2022. He's a terrific young man. And is he a flag bearer for the Hispanic community for us? He is, and he embraces that with Daniel Amigos and other programs that we help support. Bubba Wallace, African American. Bubba is a winner, a NASCAR playoff contender, terrific driver. Is he a flag bearer for African Americans for our sport? He is. And it can be a burden. It was hard during 2020, the pressure that he was under, and he handled it with grace. It was difficult, and he did it. And I'm proud of him for doing that. Certainly not easy. So the shift has caused a number of things. So I talk about it working from a fan perspective. There are two other important areas for me. One is, do people of color and young people want to come work at NASCAR now? And the answer is yes. It was hard to get people to come to work for us. Their perception of who we are made it such that, I'm not working there. That's not my thing. Those aren't my people. Well, you know what? We are those people, because we are a caring community of people that welcome people to our racetracks, welcome people to our facilities, and it's important. And then the other area, so fans, employees, stakeholders in general, and then owners. In September of 2021, 22, at any rate, some September period around that time, Michael Jordan decided to pair with Denny Hamlin and become an owner of NASCAR. So if you watched SportsCenter last weekend, you saw Michael Jordan in Victory Lane talking about the importance and his love of NASCAR. Michael Jordan's not coming to be an owner if we hadn't made the steps we did in 2020. I guess it was 2020 that he came. Thank you. I figured it out on my own, right? Or Justin Marks' minority partner, Pitbull. He's not coming without the changes that are made. He's not coming. So it is a journey that we are still on. It's important to do this. And then we're now pivoting to different areas, right? So we're going to continue to have D&I as a pillar. The next pillar that we have is going to be around sustainability. So here we go again. The brand of NASCAR, a brown sport, right? Brown sport. We are going to be carbon neutral by 2035. Not just a marker out there. We are doing things today that are important for the success of the brand moving forward around sustainability. We have the best racing in the planet. A brand new car that was introduced in 2022 called our Next Gen car. Why does that matter? It matters because it allowed new ownership to come to the sport. The way ownership used to work, you wanted to come and race in NASCAR, you needed to go to 5 other teams and have them build your car for you. Well, we changed that model. And the model really was about RFPing 47 pieces and parts of that car that are identical for race teams to go race. So essentially, if you're mechanically inclined at all, which I am not, you can put that car together. Same parts. And that was important. And that's why we have new ownership coming, like a Justin Marks. But for the change in the car, he never was coming to NASCAR. And so all these different doors that are opening, new owners, new fans, great racing, and something that is the pillar of NASCAR, which is brand loyalty. Our fans understand the importance of what sponsorship means to make that car go fast, have that car on the racetrack, have that facility, have people pack it, watching on television. It is all sponsor driven. And that's important. And so whether trial, purchase behavior, all done through the fan base. And our fans, I like to call our quality fans that relates to people understanding what sponsorship does. I worked at the NFL for 14 years. I was in charge of their sponsorship group for the last 7 years I was there. What I can assure you is fans didn't understand what it did, right? So if I'm a fan, I was going to rub some salt in the wound, I won't do that. We'll say the New York Giants, right? You go to the New York Giants and you are the official beverage of the New York Giants. What has that done for the New York Giants? Did you get a long snapper for that? What do you get? I don't know. I do know what you get when you sponsor NASCAR, and so do our fans, and that's important. So we have had a fundamental shift in who we are. At the core, we're the same. Our DNA is about great racing. Our DNA is about welcoming people in a community that is unique and different than any other sport out there. It's different. Show of hands, how many people have been to a NASCAR race? Wow, that's fantastic. And for those of you who don't, June 1st and 2nd, that's your man. Please come. It's special. It's different. Please bring ear protection. It's really loud, which is why there's so much hearing loss at NASCAR. I'm not joking. Please come. It is an event, and it's an event unlike any other. The sensory experience you get when you go to a NASCAR race is unlike anything else. All of it. Touch the car, don't touch it too much, they get mad. The smell, tires, fuel, it's just, go down to the fence and just go there for a second, right? Because if you go there for too long, they'll kick your ass out and you have to go somewhere else. You can feel the noise going through your body, like literally right through. And it's unlike anything, anywhere. It's just spectacular. Watching 40 cars go around at 180, 190, 200 miles an hour. This past weekend at Talladega, bunched together in a crazy scrum, and then they wreck at the end. Shock. That's what happened. Don't block at the end of a race because you will get wrecked. Michael McDowell, and you did. So at any rate, it is a thrill for me to be here. When Curtis asked me to do this, I'm like, yeah, you tell me when and where, and I will be there. Again, I want to thank each of you for coming today. Another shout out to Worldwide Technology and all they do, and then specifically, Dave and Dave Jr. for what they do for our sport. It's meaningful. I always say at the end of every single town hall that we have, which we call Garage Talk, I say the same thing. Every single person that works at this company can make a difference in the growth of this sport. And I believe that. And so this sense of community that exists as part of our company, the broader stakeholder group, and then ultimately all the fans that make this work, it is working. And so for us, as all the positivity around our sport continues, it's an opportunity for you as a business community here to come together. I'm always reminded when I come to St. Louis that this is the best sports town in the country. All right. And you know what? I believe that to be true. And a huge shout out to Curtis and his team, because what they're building across the river is something special. And we will be partners with Curtis and his team for decades to come. We love St. Louis. By the way, that I didn't just announce a schedule thing for the next 20 years. It's important, right? This community is important. Schedule variation is important. So we went to the streets of Chicago last year. The two cities that I felt most welcome in were both in the state of Illinois. Across the river and the Chicago street race. We disrupted that city, Chicago, disrupted. like shut down. And I'd go to a restaurant or a bar, and I'd listen to people on the street, and they said, oh man, NASCAR's in it. See what they did? It's really cool. I can assure you the same thing didn't happen in Las Vegas with F1. Woo, that's an angry set of community leaders there. So anyway, please don't, no attribution to me. You can do that on your own. But we felt welcome, and we feel welcome in St. Louis. It's a special city that you have here. And it's really watching the community leaders come together, business community and politicians and others that make up who this is, and ultimately our fans, race fans, to support, is really something special. So you should really be proud of that. We are proud of it, and we're proud to be partners with you. So with that, apparently I have to get on another airplane and go elsewhere. So I won't be able to join you for questions at the end, unfortunately. But it was really my pleasure to be here. So thank you.